Hi, everybody, and welcome to this week's Ingles Furman Radio Network preview. It is the regular season home finale for Clay Hendricks' Paladins, ranked number 2 in the country, looking for their first outright Southern Conference championship since 1990, have already secured the automatic bid to the FCS playoffs and now playing to continue to hold on to that number 2 national seed when the playoffs begin. Get a bye week and all that goes along with that. I'm Dan Scott. Good to have you with us as we prepare you for this matchup between the Paladins and VMI. Furman, of course, coming in off of the 17-14 win last week at Chattanooga, a game in which Carson Jones comes off the bench and executes just incredibly well under fire. Let's just call it what it was, because Chattanooga's defense was really, really strong last week, and the young man, unflappable, threw the game-winning touchdown pass with 1:44 to go. Furman's defense did what it does, and Furman got the win. Got to celebrate the championship there, and then Clay Hendricks told me this week that they haven't talked about it. He's not heard one thing about it from his players since, because they know that there is still unfinished business to tend to when it comes to what lies ahead this week and next week at Wofford, the final 2 regular season meetings. You certainly don't want to stumble now, and then you'd have a bye in the first round of the playoffs and get to host a second-round game here at Paladin Stadium. And if you're able to hold on to that number 2 national ranking, and of course that will all be up to the committee once we get to that weekend in a couple of weeks, but if you're able to hold on to that number 2 national ranking, that means that you would play at home as long as you continued to win until you get to a national championship game in Frisco, Texas. So a position that Furman hasn't been in a while, and one that I know that this coaching staff and these players are eager to see come to fruition. Furman has an opportunity, as I mentioned, to win the first outright Southern Conference championship since 1990, and a win this week would also tie the school record for most consecutive Southern Conference victories at 13, and that stretched over a number of seasons going back to its start in the 1988 campaign, which happened to be the national championship year. So this team, going back to last year and what it has continued to do here in 2023, has really reached some rarefied air as far as Furman University football history goes. Paladins, of course, will be playing with Carson Jones at the quarterback spot. Tyler Huff, according to Clay Hendricks, is week to week, and Carson, who was so great last week, will get the opportunity to make his first collegiate start here at home. It's Military Appreciation Day. It is Senior Day. There are going to be an incredible number of players on the field being honored prior to the game before their final regular season home game. Although, as Clay reminded us when we talked to him during the Pepsi Countdown to Kickoff that you'll hear on Saturday, some of those guys who are out there, he hopes and expects will be back again next season. We have seen that in each of the last couple of years. From a VMI standpoint, they are a football team under first-year head coach Danny Rocco that has been getting better. They almost beat Chattanooga 2 weeks ago, and in fact, if they don't miss an extra point and don't miss a field goal, they end up winning that game. Didn't get it done. Came back to beat ETSU last week, and talking to the coaching staff to a man here, they say, don't look at VMI's first 3 or 4 games. Look what they've done in the last month or so at how well they're playing, kind of finding their identity under a new coaching staff. And as you might expect from a military academy, just being very, very tough in how they go about their business. They have also made a quarterback change. Going back to the game against Chattanooga, Colin Ironside, who had been the starter all season, was yanked from that game in favor of Colin Shannon, the redshirt freshman out of Sevierville, Tennessee. And Shannon started and played the entire way last week against ETSU, so we are expecting that he will be the guy that gets to start against Furman this week. Not the runner that Ironside is, but they've been doing more out of the Wildcat with one of their running backs, Hunter Rice, and so you'll see a number of different things. Defensively, they're multiple in a lot of ways and do some things a little unordinary, if that's the right word. And talking with VMI's radio folks last week, or not VMI, but Chattanooga's radio folks last week, about their close call, they told me that Chase Artopius was lamenting to them that he had just not seen a defense, especially in pass coverage, react the way that VMI's defense did in that game. Now, Chattanooga only threw it 17 times in that game. Jumped out to a quick 14-0 lead and ended up having to hold on down the stretch. But he told their radio crew, Artopius did, that they just do things that they hadn't seen a normal secondary, normal pass coverage do. So they'll do things to try and mix it up, and especially with a young quarterback going in Carson Jones, would not be surprised if they get extra funky in this one. From a numbers standpoint, the Keydets averaging 305 yards of total offense per game and only 15 points per game. They rush it for 121. They throw it for 184. They're -4 in the turnover margin. They've thrown 8 picks, lost 5 fumbles. And when it comes to sacking the quarterback defensively, they've accumulated 13, but they have allowed their quarterbacks to be sacked 27 times. Furman has 25 as a team, and you know they've done the bulk of that work over the course of the last month, and that pass rush just keeps getting stronger and stronger and stronger, so you would expect to see that to be the case here again this week. Keydets giving up 370.7 yards and almost 24 points a game. Rushing-wise, they allow almost 200 yards per game and 173 through the air. And you compare that to some of the numbers that you see out of Furman, the Paladins, 367 total offense, averaging 28 points a game. Very balanced attack, 172 run, 195 pass, have allowed quarterbacks to be sacked 15 times. The key for Furman has been the incredible turnover ratio, or one of the keys for its offensive success. Only 5 interceptions all season long, and this to me is incredible. We're getting ready to play game number 10. In the first 9 games, Furman has only fumbled the ball 4 times and has only lost 1 of those fumbles. So the plus 12 in the turnover category is outstanding. Defensively, allowing 353 yards, 19 points. Only 97 yards per game on the ground is what Furman's defense is allowing so far this season. So you take a look at the standings. The Paladins, the only undefeated team in the league, everybody else with at least 2 losses. And you see VMI, this is a game for them. They win this one, they get to 500 overall and a game above 500 in the league. You see they're 4-5, 3-3 in the conference. And Wofford and the Citadel both still looking for their first victories. As we flip it over to the schedule, somebody's perfect or imperfect season among those two is going to come to an end today, because Wofford is at the Citadel at 2 p.m., so one of those teams is going to get its first win. ETSU at Western Carolina and Samford at Mercer. That's a huge game for Mercer, because all of a sudden they are looking like the leader in the clubhouse for the SoCon to get a number 2 bid or a number 2 team in to the FCS playoffs. If Samford goes in there and wins that game, that could put a huge damper on Mercer's playoff hopes. Of course, again, you never know what's going to happen when a group of people go behind closed doors and call themselves a committee. But that is a huge game for Mercer. They get it at home at 3 p.m. And, of course, Chattanooga is off this week, and they close out their regular season next week against Alabama. Barring a collapse of biblical proportions by the Crimson Tide next week, Chattanooga is going to see its record fall to 7-4, and 3 of those 4 losses will be to FCS teams. Look, Chattanooga is easily a playoff quality football team. We know that, but the committee's also looking for excuses a lot of times to leave teams out. And if you have 4 losses and 3 of them against FCS caliber competition, it's going to be difficult for Chattanooga to get in the field. That's why last week's game was so big for them, just like it was for Furman. Just a reminder, I hope you saw it earlier this week. If you did not, the kickoff has been moved back a half an hour. Originally set for 1 o'clock, the kickoff is now 1:30 p.m., which means we will be on the air with the Pepsi Countdown to Kickoff at noon. And all of the Senior Day festivities are going to start about 12:45. And I think there are 41 seniors who are going to be acknowledged, and they're going to have them lined up basically goal line to goal line. That's how many of them there are that will be honored on Saturday here at Paladins Stadium. So you want to be in your seats early. You want to show these kids the appreciation they deserve. Because you think about what this group has been through, and Dwayne Vaughn, the defensive coordinator, and I were talking about this on Thursday. You think about what this group has been through since coming in here. The COVID-canceled season in 2020, having to play a truncated spring season in 21, and then turn around and play a full fall season in the fall of 21, only to bounce back and have the year that they did last year and doing what they are doing this season. This has been a special group, and we mentioned where they are kind of in the annals of Furman history with some of the things they're trying to accomplish this week. You need to be in the stands. You need to be here to appreciate what these young men have done. It's also Military Appreciation Day, so a lot of pregame festivities, of course, outside the stadium. Each and every home game, you've got what we think is the best atmosphere pregame around, bar none. You've got live music, you've got the bouncy houses for the kids, the food trucks, the games, all of the things that have just made game day here at Furman so incredible. And then, look, there's still some color in the leaves in the mountains on Paris Mountain as we're overlooking things. So just come here. It's going to be a beautiful day weather-wise. If you can't make it, we've got you covered on ESPN Plus and, of course, our radio broadcast on the Fan Upstate 97.7 in Greenville, 97.1 in Spartanburg, and online at Odyssey.com and the Odyssey app. But there are some tickets available, plenty as a matter of fact, because we are not expecting VMI to bring a huge crowd. FurmanPaladins.com is the easiest way to get your tickets. The phone number is 864-299-3099. That's direct to the ticket office. Show up on game day, go to the ticket office at Timmons, make your purchase there, and you can get in and check out some great football. Furman and VMI in what should be a day full of pageantry here at Paladin Stadium, with the seniors being honored and with the Military Appreciation Day festivities going on. And oh, by the way, a chance to continue that path towards a national seed and getting the playoffs underway in just a few weeks. Look forward to having you here for the 1:30 kickoff. If you can't make it, we've got you covered on the radio. Until then, I'm Dan Scott, as always, saying God bless you, and so long, everybody.